the first day you worked at the company, you got your letter of acceptance into the seminary?
I did.
I wanted to transition into how we met. So we were at the event and you said, "Oh, Ray, you're an engineer. I'm an engineer too." And I was like, "Oh, wow." So what was that like, leaving your career behind to pursue the priesthood? I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't know any people that got their MD and then became a priest personally, but I imagine people that go into different fields are like, oh, I don't want to leave that behind because I worked so hard for that. As an engineer, I worked so hard for that. I wouldn't want to abandon that. But what was that like? And how did that really change the way you look at everything?
Yeah, thank you. And I think it's probably, I would suppose that it's different for everybody. And so for me, just based off of some of the story that I shared, it kind of came down to like I wouldn't have had an opportunity of an education. I wouldn't have had an opportunity of sort of the life, even think about like what's life looking like after college, having these different options, I guess, available without sort of the grace of God in it all. For lack of a better phrase, like God gave, God take away, but then God gives you so much more. You know what I mean? So it was kind of based off of that gift. Well, if I had this opportunity, from God, everything's given by the grace of God. So I kind of looking at it through that lens. And so I really enjoyed my time studying engineering, really in college, and getting working on different projects, doing all those kinds of different projects and assignments. Really developed sort of a love and passion for it. But really, at the end of my career at UMass Amherst, in studying engineering, there was really a sense of something missing. Like I wanted my life after college to absolutely mean something, and that was just in my heart. It was just so big, so much bigger than I can even describe and verbalize. Um, I was really wrestling with that, and so I'm really also kind of big in like plan of life, like having like an action point, like where you're going to pray, where you're going to go to mass, those kinds of things. What does your life look like after college? Thinking about those kinds of things. When I'm in seminary, what does my life look like as a diocesan priest? So you have to think about those kinds of things and take that kind of that responsibility. And so really my career was it really lasted 2 weeks. And really when I got accepted to my job, I first I didn't want to take it because I knew that I was thinking about the priesthood and I needed an answer. Needed an answer. I wasn't getting the answer. I wasn't getting really a yes or no. And so finally, on the first day of my job, I got accepted to the to the priesthood from the Diocese of Springfield, and I told them. And so it was just I kind of agonized because like I was thinking like maybe I can work for the summer, or someone was saying maybe you can work for the summer and then just give a 2 week notice at the end of the summer. I thought to myself, well, yeah, but I wanted honesty to be the best policy. Going to the priesthood and thinking about the seminary, I wanted to be honest with the people. So yeah, honesty was the best policy. That's the advice that I got from my spiritual director at the time, and I applied that and just told him what I was thinking. And the head of the company was actually a devout practicing Catholic, and he had like 7 kids, and he wanted one of his boys to become a priest, and he was discerning and praying about becoming a deacon. And so I was like, wow, what an amazing connection there. And so, but then of course, after 2 weeks, they had me on for full time, and so they'll let me go. And it just kind of worked out that way. And no hard feelings. I got my first paycheck after college, and pretty good. So yeah, I did. And the president of the company, his name's
What a
John.
coincidence.
Yeah, yeah, I guess it's very
I,
ironic. Yeah, because I didn't want to accept the job because I didn't want to put people in a position like to count on me and then I just kind of like back out. And even the John reached out to me. He said, "Hey, what's going on? Is it the money? Do you want more money?" And I'm like, well, no, I have to decide now." And and I'm just trying to weigh everything. I didn't want to tell him that I was like thinking about becoming a priest or something, and yeah, you're a college kid out of college, you know what's gonna happen. But then of course honesty is the best policy, and it turned out great. It turned out all good. And even leaving the company, it was always kind of an enjoyable story. I mean, some of my buddies gave me a hard time. They're like, "Oh, the guy says he likes priests, then he let you go." I mean, but it's all part of the journey too. So
did you
yeah.
have any fun interactions between non-Catholics that were like, why would you become a priest?
That's interesting. It's my Catholic friends, And even my friends in college, they were very, they could see it, you know what I mean? Because when I was studying engineering, like it'd be during my finals, and I'd go off, we'd all be studying, of course. I say, oh, it's 5 o'clock. I got to go bring communion to the elderly. I got to go. And they're like, hey, we're studying right now. I'm like, no, I really got to go. And so, yeah, you'd have kind of those interactions. I was always fascinated with like what the reaction was going to be. I found that the most, for lack of a better word, the most troublesome reaction, or even the most uh, uh, yeah, the most troublesome reaction, or the most inquisitive reaction, was from people back home, people that knew me from my church. You know what I mean? That kind of thing, because they didn't necessarily see you in that light. They didn't necessarily see what you were kind of going through. Going off to college, I was involved in the Newman Center, that kind of thing. Um, and yeah, so there were some things that were probably said, some things that probably don't bear repeating on your show. And so I'm really trying to skate around like how to say it without saying it. But yeah, there were some things that were said to me by some of my college engineering friends. Their kids would come up to me and like say something, and I'd be like, well, where'd you get that from? Obviously from your parents. And so yeah, it was kind of fun. It was kind of fun. I don't know if I should say
Now,
something.
being by the Boston Globe, scandal, did that radically impact the area? And I'm guessing some of those comments might be related to that.
Yeah, I think some of those comments definitely related to that, and maybe not, but I mean, I think that, well, quite frankly, one of the kids, who was an engineering student, buddy of mine, his kid like said, "Hey, are you gay?" And I was like, "Well, no, I'm not." And it was those kinds of interaction. He goes, I guess it was just like misunderstanding, because celibacy is obviously misunderstood among like non-Catholic people, and why would you do that? That kind of a thing. It was definitely an opportunity to evangelize. It was an opportunity to kind of go into it, and go into the teaching of the faith. And really, a lot of my non-Catholic friends, they kind of have the faith within them. They really want to believe, but they can't necessarily kind of wrap their mind around a certain lifestyle. They can't wrap their mind around, why would you spend so much time studying? Why do engineering and then go into the priesthood? And really, what I told you, it's just I had this opportunity, I had this gift, of an education, something I wouldn't have had without the grace of God. And so that realization in itself just kind of made me realize, like, that I can do this. I can make this, quote unquote, this sacrifice, and ask for the grace, kind of each and every day. And really, it came down to, there were sometimes there were some issues in their lives as well. And they reached out to me some difficult moments in their life, as well. So it was kind of a give and take that way. So it was useful, it was beneficial.
Great. Now,
Yeah.
going into that, when I was studying engineering, not many of my peers were practicing any faith or believed in God or anything like that. Why do you think so many people in technical areas don't have faith?
I think it's kind of interesting. I kind of see that. I see a lot of people. It could be the culture. It could be, the wounds of the heart. Those kinds of things always play a part. I find, and I find, because a lot of people that I know as priests who enter into the priesthood or in seminary, they all have technical backgrounds. Many of them, believe it or not, like
Mm.
studying engineering, going to medical school, really like some hard science backgrounds, being astronomers, studying business, even, and then making kind of that leap of faith, into the seminary. But I think that, I think that there's such a temptation where everything needs to be proven, everything needs to be seen, everything needs to be measured, and everything just needs to be explained. And that whole other order of the supernatural, of we placing our faith in things that are seen and unseen, and we pray that in the creed every Sunday. And so the whole idea of something being unseen could be misinterpreted as being superficial, or or just something that's really like kind of not important. So I think that's kind of where it kind of goes, why people would kind of not have that kind of faith. And then also the perceived intelligence factor. Like Bishop Barron, he always talks about how he's not into a watered down faith, and he's right about that. And we have to be. There's a whole intelligent tradition about our Catholic faith, about the saints, Saint Thomas Aquinas, Saint Augustine, those kinds of things. And then many times, what happens in people when they're being formed in the faith, or lack of formation in the faith, they come home with like Catholic coloring books from their church, but then they're reading like Hamlet and studying calculus and physics in their high school. So that level of it's almost like if this is harder, then it must be more important. And then really there's a whole tradition in the faith that we kind of don't put on the table for folks. So
No, that's a great point. I never thought about that, because we make the faith so simple and easy that it's, we're not like, okay, that's just a coloring book, Jesus, it's not actually deep. But when you read these people, right, when you actually like go into metaphysics and things like that, I did this great physics Bible study that I was telling you about. I'm going to do a video on it eventually. It's called The Science Before Science. Incredible book written by a PhD in physics from MIT. Phenomenal. So more to come on that. But
yeah,
faith and personally, I've been amazed. So many people I go to church with are engineers or doctors or pilots or something like that. So there is a lot of that desire for order. I do go to Latin Mass parish, so that may impact it, because I've seen in my experience that engineers are more driven toward that, in that ordered mindset. But
it's the structure. They probably like the structure anyway.
Indeed, yes. So because I did metallurgy, it was all about structure, all the crystal structure. So I wanted to ask you, what would you like to see more from the laity? I know there's so much talk of like, oh, we need our priests to be like this, and this, and be more holy and all these things. But I feel like seldom it's kind of flipped around, and, asking priests what they would like to see more from the laity. So if you have any thoughts there, I'd love to hear them.
What I like to see more from the laity is, and I know many of you guys do, and I'm so grateful for you guys in the pews and that kind of thing. It's always wonderful to see you, quite frankly. And I'm so excited about First Communion coming up and confirmation, all those kinds of things. What I want to see more from the laity is taking confession very seriously, and then taking adoration very seriously. And quite frankly, and the reason why I want to see that is because I think that's where sort of the conversion happens. And when you take your own sins and own up to it seriously, you're in a position to kind of go out and live your best life, be a better husband, better father, better wife, for myself, a better priest, those kinds of things. I want to see more of that. We get so wrapped up into doing, and we absolutely need to take action in things. There's no doubt about that. Volunteering for things, absolutely have to take action, and nothing's going to substitute that. But if we have a deep prayer life outside of Mass, whether that be devotion, adoration, and definitely taking that confession piece seriously, everybody in the pew, that's where sort of that church really kind of comes more on fire, embracing that contemplative side, and embracing that contemplative side. That's what spurs us on to action, and that's where we get the inspiration to act, and the perseverance and the resiliency when things get challenging and things like kind of don't go our way. So that's what I'd like to see more of, and I need to foster that more. I need to assist in that more. I do the best I can. That's where it's at.
That is awesome. I didn't know your answer to that before this, so I think that's a great answer. I noticed that the times where I'm like the best husband and father is when I'm doing more of like the examine on a more regular basis, so reflecting on how I could be better and the ways that I've fallen short and things like that. So we try to go to confession at least once a month. Since having the third baby, it's been more like every 6 weeks, but we're like, all right, we got to do it. You just got to set a time and go. Our Newman Center, they have confession every day, which is a huge blessing. I want to ask you, why do you think there's only confession like a half an hour on a Saturday night in so many parishes?
Yeah, it kind of comes down to availability, and I ask people, like, so I have confession in my parish on Wednesday evening 5 to 6, tonight 5 to 6, and then also Saturday from like 3:45, and I think it happens because that half hour, the availability of the priests, and maybe the people kind of maybe not going, that kind of a thing, and where sin's kind of being explained away by psychology, which I think psychology is very useful for us, but it can't necessarily explain away sin. We have to own up to that and ask for God's grace. So I think it's kind of a conundrum. But if we make the confession times available, we show that this is important, and we preach about it from our own experience, and of course rooted in what the church teaches, and also lived experience, so we're a witness ourselves, and that's what kind of spurs people on. After that, after you kind of build that relationship up, you can kind of make it happen. And then a lot of people, people like good faithful Catholics that I talk to are afraid to go to confession. You know, they don't want to. And I said, well, why don't you just, okay, so you're not available on Saturday, you're not available on this time. Why don't you just give me a call? Oh, they can't make that. They can't make that step. You know, so like in the Confiteor, we have to like pray on the things we do and the things we fail to do, and that's one of the things that we should really like strive not to fail to do, even when we're afraid. You know what I mean? It's like this is going to help me out in the best, in the long run. This is going to help me put my relationship right with God. And so we just kind of have it and be not afraid. Have at it, be not afraid. And the priest is always understand the priest is always there to help. But I think that it's probably not available because the priest is a little busy. The laity don't necessarily come because for whatever reason. Many of them are afraid. Some people probably don't believe that they are sinning, which is an issue as well. It's kind of that thing. But if we invite more times and be inviting and make ourselves available for it, then I think that's something that can potentially definitely be built up.
Great.
Yeah.
How can the laity help priests?
The laity can help priests by when they see something that is happening in a parish or not happening in a parish, and they want to go and they want to complain about it, as opposed to when they make the complaint, they can also volunteer to be part of the solution, first of all. And then secondly, which is a little less obvious, I think that another way that they can help is definitely by praying for your priest. Like, don't underestimate the power of praying for your priest. Like, we're on the front lines, spiritual battle, those kinds of things. And I had a group of lay women pray for me, like a holy hour a day for 7 days. And I didn't organize this myself. One of my lay people from my previous parish comes up to me and says, do you want to try this? And I said, you know what? Let's do it. What do I get to lose? I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to receive grace. And I said, go for it. Like that was my attitude towards it. But then once they started doing it, I actually felt like a total difference, and it totally changed my perspective. And it totally changed my approach to a lot of things. And so I would say definitely pray for your priest. And if you have a complaint about something, volunteer to be part of the solution.
That is awesome. We'll transition from this into the Congress that we went to.
Yes.
I had never been out to Massachusetts before until I went to the conference or the Congress, and I was amazed to see how many people were on fire for the faith. And you were the spiritual director behind that Congress. So thank you in advance for all of your prayers. Could you share some of your favorite memories from the Congress?
I think my favorite memory, you hit it on the head. It was definitely a joyful day. And I think like the production, the preparation of going into that Congress was just totally epic. And the amount of effort that went into it was totally epic. And the amount of prayer that went into it was totally epic. It's like, as a spiritual director, it's important to like pray for these folks to be available and that kind of thing, to get behind them so they can go forth and produce their best stuff and produce their best work. So that was sort of the intention behind it. And so I combined a prayer calendar between the Year of the Eucharist Committee, which is now called the Eucharistic Revival Committee, and the Catholic Life Conference, which helped plan the Eucharistic Congress. Got all the names and prayed for each one individually by name each and every day. We have a few priests on the Year of the Eucharist Committee, which is that, and I asked them to do the same. And I also asked, I submitted that prayer calendar to the Dominican sisters so they can do so, and just kind of, got the prayer support we needed, because like the devil was going to like hit us hard, and we wanted to be prepared for that so we can, stay inspired. We're going to get tempted, but then we're going to be resilient and go forward each and every single day. So that was totally epic. And I really just got into a mindset for January and February where any temptation that came my way, it's like, all right, this is the devil. I'm going to focus and go, and it was like that all the time. So I thought that it was totally epic. And in my favorite memory leading up to that we didn't get a single snowflake of snow at all. And then the week of the Congress, every day in the week of the Congress, we basically got a nor'easter every day. And totally like on Friday, we're praying like a novena of the Memorare, and every hour on the hour. April, the chair of the committee was got us all into that, and I thought that was great. And then later on that night, it's like I knew it was going to snow, and I'm sitting there and I'm praying to God. I'm like, God, how can you do this? You know, it's like we did everything. We worked so hard. We prayed so hard. We're trying to build your church up, and now we have this snow. How can you do this? And the word that came to me was like, just wait and see. Just wait and see what I'm going to do. And all right, fine, but we could have had better weather, you know. And so the next day, it was totally messed up. It was like it was very snowy. It was total winter wonderland, you know, and that kind of a thing. And I said, all right, I gotta get there, gotta get there, gotta get there. I'm thinking like, even if we had, I didn't know what was gonna take place. But as soon as I went into that arena, into the Mass Mutual Center, the whole entire tone was just joyful. It was just joyful. You know, everyone was joyful. Even myself, I was so happy to be there. And then I put my stuff down, and this is like kind of the moment, you know, that the moment of all moments, I guess, of the Eucharistic Congress. I go into the St. Joseph Hall, which is the main hall. They renamed all the halls after a saint. And we went to the St. Joseph Hall, which is the main hall. The whole entire hall was filled, and there were people on stage praying the rosary. And then within about 20 seconds, everything calmed down. It was going to be, I felt like it was going to be a good day. That moment was definitely sort of I think that moment was probably my favorite moment of the whole entire Eucharistic Congress. And then of course, hearing the stories, hearing the testimonies. We had a presbyteral council. The priests were very congratulatory of it, and they were very talking about how they want to see something else, that they want to see more things. They were very excited. They were very happy for their people having this great experience. So yeah, so I'd say that was my favorite moment in the Congress. And of course, just being there the whole day was amazing. And then when I went back and watched like the mass on the Catholic Life Conference website, and just seeing the mass, seeing the procession, hearing the music, I just reduced to tears, because I was just like, it was just so beautiful. It was just unlike anything. And so I mean, really, that was like probably one of the most epic things I did in my priesthood. Was the most epic thing I did in my priesthood was be part of that great epic effort, you know.
It was amazing.
Right.
It felt like a C conference, and I
Yeah.
love the C conferences. I've been to 2 or 3 of them, and you're just so on fire. And I was like, wow, how awesome. Because I've been in contact with April for almost 2 years, you know, and to see this actually coming to fruition, and it was just great. So thank you for being the spiritual director behind that. Well, Father, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Nothing else that I'd like to share. I think that it's been really great to be on with you, and it's a great journey towards priesthood, and awesome to be alive in the faith at this point in history.
It is. Great. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you, Father Dave. Please say a prayer for Father, and hope you have a blessed day, and God love you.